right. So, Dr. Christiana, thank you for sitting down with me today. I'm so excited to interview you about your experience and all things wellness and coaching and speaking. But first, before we get started, do you mind sharing with our listeners and viewers what it means to you to go slow to go fast?
Oh, thank you so much for having me here, Kendra. I'm really excited. Audience, this is going to be a nice one, especially look at these beautiful fall
Mhm.
backgrounds that we have going there. And that actually ties in perfectly with this episode. So going slow, going fast is even more important in the fall because all of a sudden you realize there's all these different things that you maybe had on your to-do list in the earlier part of the year, and then they are still there. So the way to tackle that sometimes is like where you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm just going to get it done. And you move even faster. Where in reality, that is sometimes this hustling culture that we're really looking at. And unfortunately, it's not always necessarily the best thing for our wellness, just to feel like you're ticking things off your to-do list because you're not taking care of yourself. So while you
Mhm.
might take care of some things on your to-do list, your wellness at the end of the year will definitely sacrifice whatever you had going on. So my recommendation is always just take what I call like a small pause and take time to pause and really think about that. What I call petite practice is actually my trademark, might
Mhm.
pay off more than just pushing through, making your body work because we're not machines at the end of the day. So even if you just rest for like an hour or go outside for 30 minutes, you will feel so much more refreshed, and that going slow will actually allow you then to tackle those things.
Yes, I agree. You are a super busy woman, professional speaker. You're a professor as well. So you are constantly on the go. And it is just the school year is already kicked off. It started. You're full into the fall semester. So you're just super busy. Could you walk our listeners and viewers back to kind of your beginnings of how you got into where you are now?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. And actually, I'm the best case study of what I just shared with the audience. So this morning, I woke up and I didn't feel super great. And I had, my two little voices. One was like, oh, push through, you can make it. And I probably would have been like completely fine. But I felt, you know what? I'm going to take it a little bit easier this morning. It doesn't happen very often that I'm not feeling well. Actually, hardly ever happens. And so if it does happen, I need to honor that feeling. And so this morning, I rescheduled a meeting and changed that meeting so that my morning freed up a little bit. And just that one meeting already made a world of a difference. Because think about back meetings, how much of an intensity that really is, and how you're feeling that burden on your shoulders. And I think that's really how I approached life. So even like when I came here from Germany, that I sometimes just looked at it more as like, all right, so what are the three things I really want to accomplish at the end of the day? And if I tick those off, then I know I can really celebrate success versus looking at a 21 to-do list where I maybe ticked off three, but in the grand scheme, it really doesn't, it's only like a drop in the bucket. So from the get-go, coming here from Germany, I had this very structured and organized thinking where I was always going for the high five moment at the end of the day versus the hustle culture, I can do it all. And I think that really helped with my success.
That is so true that, we do tend to have that hustle culture mindset of a million to-dos. But really, if you can boil that down to three things that you focus on getting done, then you should feel good about what you've accomplished that day. And so, and thinking about just your background coming from Germany, Germans take a good amount of time off as well to reconnect and refresh and recharge. And that's something in our culture in the United States that we just don't generally take time to do.
Well, that's a beautiful comparison. And actually, now I've been living here since 1999. So you do the math in your head. Also, my life in the United States has already graduated college and moved on into working careers now. I got so used to the working on the weekends and taking care of the household on the weekends that when I go back and when I see that stores are closed, I realize how much ingrained that is in myself now. The fact that I'm looking at a weekend as sometimes as an extension of the week and where I try to catch up on certain things. And when I go back to Germany, I'm like, stores are closed. How dare them? I can't even go grocery shopping. Where in reality, you could probably just do that on a Friday or on a Saturday or on a Monday. But yeah, it's for me, it's sometimes like I realize how much my culture has really changed and how much I got used to that.
Mm, true. Yeah. I mean, I think it's been interesting just to kind of think through what a typical work week looks like. And for most of us in the United States, like you said, weekends are just kind of it's a bleed in from the weekday. And yeah, what if we could just completely not do any work on the weekends? What if we could take more time for ourselves? And so, what would be some strategies that you would suggest that we think about to incorporate less hustle and more productivity so we feel like we're getting something done, in addition to the idea of having those three, you know, areas that we could focus and check off each day?
Oh, beautiful question. And actually, I shared that in my TEDx talk too. When I came to the United States, my immediate reaction was, I'm just going to fully immerse myself in that hustle culture. Until I realized a lot of things were very much kind of like ticking things off, like checkmark related. And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't even sometimes very meaningful what I ticked off. It nearly felt like just, going through the motions instead of sitting down and pausing and thinking, what did I actually just learn? Did I
Hmm.
actually connect with the students, or did I truly just give a Scantron exam and see whether they did an A, B, C, D and check that? I really completely changed my teaching strategy because I felt that the system wasn't really building better people, so to speak. And I think that's the same in our life. You need to make sure you have that time for your connection, whether that's on the weekend, whether that's under the week, in the evenings, even with the people that live in your own household. Just take a moment to pause and reflect. And instead of just moving forward, see what worked and what maybe didn't work and be honest with yourself and then create a plan based on that. And when I shared that in my TEDx talk, I actually even asked the question. I said, who remember taking an exam and immediately forgetting everything that you just wrote down? And a lot of people in the audience raised their hand. And I thought, yeah, that's basically really, as a professor, what I realized I need to change. I cannot just go for the lists and the hustle culture. I need to make sure that when they graduate, I'm building lifelong learners. And I think that was a big switch for me, but it really paid off and it created so much more happiness in my life. I just feel like the load has been lifted.
I was muting myself there so I don't
Nice.
say a million things while you're talking. So you were, speaking a little bit about you've adjusted your teaching practices as a professor in the United States. Have you seen any other patterns that you think that listeners and viewers out there need to hear a little bit about, as we see students coming out of our institutions, anything that we need to be mindful of in the workforce, future workforce?
For sure. So another thing that I want to share is that for myself, coming out of that weekend, the Monday, for some reason, I had, whether I wanted it or not, subconsciously created as like a meeting Monday day. So I always felt that on Mondays, I need to schedule all these meetings and I need to take care of everything that didn't get done during the weekend. It was just this big bucket of to-do lists. And I have to admit with you, Kendra, I actually kind of started dreading the Mondays because I called them meeting Mondays. And alone the name, I'm not a huge like person that really likes these meetings, especially if
Right.
there are like sometimes meetings where I'm not entirely sure that we really need to schedule a full hour. Maybe we can get this
Mm-hmm.
done much shorter, or we could walk or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought to myself, I was like, why am I dreading the Mondays? And then I thought, well, I did this to myself. I scheduled all these meetings. I created it as a catch up like list. Why am I doing this? Why am I not just scheduling the meetings around other meetings so that when I maybe have a Zoom call, I can just quickly hop on another one? Or maybe I'm just more strategic and not doing even any meetings on Monday and I make it that catch up day, but they're not constantly interrupted by meetings. Because for me, I'm kind of an introvert. And so I actually like being in that zone on Mondays where I work on my business and I see so much growth because I'm creating productivity by not distracting myself with meetings. And that has made a big difference. So, to the audience, if you feel there's a day in the week you're kind of dreading, really ask yourself, is there anything you have in control to make a change? Because, especially if you're a business owner, maybe you can rearrange some things around that day that will make that day just a little bit more digestible. It's not like you have to take the day off and go to the beach, but maybe just making a small little change, that petite practice, that small little movement made a big difference for me. And now I'm actually, I have to say, the Mondays are nearly like my favorite days because I look back at the end of the day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got so much done. And I also, as I say, I really enjoy that alone time where I'm really in my creative space and just kind of let my whole brain and my body breathe on that day. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I like how you've taken a day that you dreaded and made it something that is more positive and something you look forward to now. You've taken it back. You have control over your schedule, which is huge. Yeah, and for individuals who are, maybe in college or in the university realm, that, you obviously can schedule your own classes. If you're in the workforce, you probably have some control over your time during the workday. But if you work for yourself, you probably have some more flexibility. But as a former school principal, I could schedule certain meetings on certain days and be more mindful about my time. Did I do that very well? I've learned over the last 10 years of being a school principal that meeting stacking doesn't work because you have no energy left for yourself and for anybody else you work with. So if you can build in that time where you can recharge and spread out those meetings, it's definitely helpful anyway, especially for those introverts out there. But I do like the idea of having 1 or 2 days be like the days for those meetings, and you could stack and then have time on the other, beginning and end of your day to kind of regroup. Whatever that looks like for you, viewers and listeners out there, if you can create that ideal week and think about the way Dr. Christiana changed a Monday into a day that she really loves, that is a great strategy. What would be some other, ideas that you could offer listeners and viewers to not be so hustle minded, go slow to go fast, and really enjoy the work that you do?
Beautiful. Yeah, and just coming back to that meeting Monday, I call it now Mindful Monday.
Hmm.
Alone the name now creates more joy in my
Yes.
calendar. So it has definitely switched a lot. So when you think of the word hustle,
Yeah.
coming to your question, we
Hmm.
frequently associate that with something negative. In reality,
Hmm.
it's just like fear. Fear is not a
Hmm.
negative thing either, nor is hustle. Because hustle could mean that you're looking at a deadline and you're hurrying up to get things done, which is sometimes good because you might otherwise take hours for something when you hustle. You just get done a
Hmm.
little quicker to spend more time with your friends and family.
Hmm.
So I want to normalize that hustle could also be happy and healthy. And Happy,
Yeah.
Healthy Hustle is actually the name of my podcast. So that's what I always think, that when I came to the United States, the hustle culture, I just turned it around. We gave the example of the Monday to a happier, healthier stage. And for me, it was that slowing down so I could go fast situation. Another thing that I did is I'm a fitness instructor. And as a fitness instructor, there's always the thinking that we go to fitness classes, maybe to see results in our body, or of course we want to all, be healthier. But what I want to emphasize for you is also that hustling is something you very intentionally do. So I actually always ask the students when they come to my fitness classes, now you're just here and let's put your phone away and just focus on being here with these amazing people, with the music, with the space, with the equipment, just one thing at a time. So I think hustling sometimes has a negative connotation because we feel we need to do all these different things at the same time, including working out and catching up on text messages while you sit on a bicycle or anything. How about you switch the script on that one? And when you go somewhere, whether it's going for a walk, for a run, spending time at the recreation center, and just focusing on how your body feels when you move it, instead of I'm trying to do a million other things at the exact same time, will already create immense benefits. Because when you come back and you open whatever, your email, your homework assignment, you felt that you had that well-deserved break where your body moved, and your mind actually will be much fresher as well.
Yeah. I think hustle, like you said, it has gotten a negative connotation, but I think it's because it's coming from a place of lack, from lack of energy or lack of time. But I think if we flip that, like you said, and think of it from a place of control, like we can control our calendar, we can put in the time that we want to spend on whatever project or meeting or meetings and stack those so we can have more time with our friends and family. We just have to be mindful. We just have to be mindful of the when we want to hustle and be productive. Yeah.
Yep, it's a little bit like a gas pedal.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we need to conserve. There's times where, we can't sprint all the time, right? A marathon isn't going to be something that we can win if we're, exceeding our level of ability and cause injury. So it's just you have to just think about it differently. And when we do need to slow down and take a break, it's okay. We can't beat ourselves up about that either because we need that as well. So knowing that you're doing a million things all the time, and you've been a TEDx speaker, you are a professor, you are a health fitness instructor, so many things. What are you working on now? Like, what is your next mountain that you're climbing?
No, that's a beautiful question. I like the mountain part. Right now, we are planning a series for my YouTube channel, Dr. Christiana, that is
Mm-hmm.
actually called Office Hours. Because
Mm-hmm.
as you pointed out, I am a professor,
Mm-hmm.
and one of my favorite things is to really spend time with people. So the Office Hours series is going to be interviews where I'm sitting live in a room with a person, or I'm pulling in an expert during those sessions, and then we are sharing it with the goal of really making other people's lives just a little bit happier and healthier.
Mm-hmm.
And in the office hours part that we actually kick off, we are filming on Monday. We are focusing on ADHD and how we feel frazzled in the fall, and how we can maybe use some small little petite practices to create a little bit more structure and calm in our chaos.
I love that. I think it's great for students, parents, clients, colleagues, all kinds of people to see you at work, in the moment. And that's a great way to showcase your talents and have time to work with people who need to hear that expertise because there are so many people out there right now that are dealing with that, ADHD, focus, and, all kinds of challenges
Yeah, and I think
with,
what's important is, oh, excuse me.
no, go ahead.
I think what's important too is that in the year we look at seasons, but we
Mm-hmm.
don't always appreciate that your body has seasons too.
Mm-hmm.
Seasons of productivity, seasons where you're feeling overwhelmed, seasons where you're feeling everything comes easy. So just like the year, we are undergoing changes, and it's
Mhm,
sometimes like, especially in the fall, where there are so many deadlines and holidays and different events where you're maybe not even realizing it's a season. You just have to honor the fact that this is a season. And so just like the leaves change, you'll
mhm.
have to change as well to get accommodated to that season. So we'll give you some tips and tricks to do that.
I love that. And, right before flu season starts, we need to be thinking about our health. We need to be thinking about, big rocks that are coming up on our calendar that we've got to think about, as well as the time to, build in time for us as well. So that's great. That's good, you know, opportunity for people to get some help. And is this something that you're going to be doing weekly? How often will you be providing this?
Great question. So my podcast, Happy Healthy Hustle, which is
Hmm.
also available on my YouTube channel, Dr. Christiana, is actually a bi-weekly podcast. And that one is shorter episodes. So I'm
Hmm.
usually just recording for 15 to 20 minutes. Now, the
Hmm.
office hour sessions are going to be a little bit longer and they're going to be visually much more much more interesting. So you can really watch it and have fun because we're going to make it super enticing for everybody to tune in and watch us. And they'll
Great.
be also dropping every other week. It's going to be the other weeks when I'm
Hmm.
not doing podcast releases. And we are very intentional. We are dropping it on October 10th, which is
Hmm.
also World Mental Health Day. Because
Mm.
I think that speaking of honoring and speaking of being aware and being intentional, that's a good day when maybe you can take an intentional 45 minutes and tune into our office hours with Dr. Christiane and learn a little bit more about being overwhelmed, ADHD, ADHD, and what you can do to maybe stay on top of your deadlines and everything that you got going on your to-do list.
Yes, that's a great service that you're providing. Great way to give back and, help people out there that are either searching for ways to help somebody in their family or themselves be a little bit more focused. And I see ADHD and ADD as a strength in many ways. And I think that it's just a way we have to think about how to refocus and reframe our abilities. And so that's great that you're providing that opportunity. And who would you say would be your primary audience for this message?
Yeah, so on Monday, it's going to be a college student who interviews me, and she's actually showing how she's using the Petit Practice Planner that I published in March. So she's
Hmm.
been using it, and she shows how maybe feeling frazzled could sometimes be eliminated by staying organized. And so she will share the calendar. But then the expert is actually a coach. So it could be creatives such as coaches, educators, entrepreneurs, and of course the college students that are going to be future entrepreneurs and business leaders. I would love to invite them as well.
Awesome. That's great. I love that. Okay. Anything else that you want to share before I let you go? Because I know you're going to be teaching a class here soon.
Yeah, so the one thing right after the TEDx talk, a lot of people asked me about the framework that I share in the TEDx talk, which is my STEP framework. The one thing that I want to encourage you is if you ever get a lot of questions from the audience about a certain topic, about something that you do, look at that as a moment where you can really create value. So in that moment when a lot of people ask me, how do you do this? And how come that you have all these different hats on and you still seem to somehow manage it all? I thought I need to write a book. So
Mm.
I published 3 books and they're all workbooks and really helping us staying organized in a very fun and structured way, even with puzzles. But on January 11th, I'm going to release my Petite Practice in Steps book because it answers the questions that I got right after the TED talk. And it also is something where I'm sharing a little bit more of a personal story of myself. We hinted a little bit at this in this episode today, but it's going to be much more fun behind the scenes. So that book will be dropping in January.
That's great. Wonderful. I know that our viewers and listeners will be checking that out. And I'll make sure all your contact information, your website is in the show notes. And if there's anything else that you think that we need to hear as far as thinking ahead into the holidays, some, just reminders as we gear up for all the holidays that are coming soon.
Yeah, I would say, and now just stay swimming, like they say in that cute little movie, Finding Nemo. That's one of my
Mhm.
favorite saying, let's go and just keep swimming. I know you can do this. And the more you reach out to others and give them a high five and connect with them and pull them along on the days when you feel you have a lot of strength and really make sure that you watch out for your friends and connect with them, the better.
That's a good reminder too. Check on the people that you care about because they might need a little life
Yeah,
raft to keep swimming as well.
exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining me and agreeing to sit down today. And I think your message will definitely be welcomed by several of our viewers and listeners out there. Thanks again, Dr. Christiana. I appreciate you and hope that you and your students have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Okay. And I'll make sure I put the intro and outro based on what's on your podcast. And